Devaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Budirayat. Jai, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure and honor. Let's dive right in. I'll share my screen. Let's see. Moment. Okay. So it is two verses. First without a purport. I'll run through the first one and then we could do a little back and forth on the second one. Netre nimilayasi naktamadrishta bandhus tvam rova vishi karunam bhatta chakravaki dasyam gatavayamivachuta pada jushtam kim vasrajam sprihayase kavarena vodham. Poor Chakravaki. Even after closing your eyes, you continue to cry pitifully through the night for your unseen mate. Or is it that, like us, you have become the servant of Achyuta and hanker to wear in your braided hair the garland he has blessed with the touch of his feet? Boho sada nishtanase udandvam alabdhanidrodhigata prajagraha kim va mukunda parit tatmalanchana praptam dasham tvam jagato duratyayam. Would anybody like to try the Sanskrit here?
Bobo sadanishthana sevudamban alaba nitro tigata prajagaraha kimba mukunda paritam lanchanaha praptam dasham tvam jagato duratyayam.
Nice. Synonyms. Bho, dear. Bho, dear. Sada, always. Nishtanase, you are making a loud sound. Udanvan, O ocean. Alabdha, not obtaining. Nidra, sleep. Adhigata, experiencing. Prajagraha, insomnia. Kimba, or else, perhaps. Mukunda, by Krishna. Aparita, taken away. Atma, personal. Lanchana, marks. Praptam, obtained by us. Dasham, the condition. Tvam, you. Cha, also. Gata, have reached. Duratyayam, impossible to become freed from. Translation. Dear ocean, you are always roaring, not sleeping at night. Are you suffering insomnia? Or is it that, as with us, Mukunda has taken your insignias, and you are hopeless of retrieving them? Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami states that Lord Krishna's queens here confused the sea surrounding Dwarka with the celestial ocean of milk, from which Lakshmi and the Kaustubha gem arose long ago. These were taken, aparita, by Lord Vishnu, and now they reside on his chest. The queens presume that the ocean is anxious to see once again the mark of Lakshmi's residence and the Kaustuba jewel on the Lord's chest, and they express their sympathy by saying that they also want to see these marks. But the queens desire even more to see the kumkum marks on the Lord's chest, which he took, which he took from their breasts when they last embraced him. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay. So I'll start off with kind of what initially struck me most deeply about this verse, these particular two verses, which was the sweetness of the relationships that is being discussed here. And it's something that we don't necessarily get to see here in the material world. Often our relationships are tainted with different kinds of material motivations. And as soon as there's some disagreement, then automatically there could be a big blow up and the relationship could even stop, could even cease to be. But that is impossible for the relationships that we hear about in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that Krishna and his associates share. Also, Lord Chaitanya, perhaps the sweetness of Lord Chaitanya's relationships is also so incredible. It's of a slightly different brand. What we see is more of a brotherly love and more of a kind of a familial exchange there. Whereas Krishna's relationships are oftentimes a bit more conjugal. But in both cases, the sweetness is the same, and it's so moving. And I was reflecting on that in relation to some of the different happenings that occurred last week, and obviously some intense things happened. Whenever somebody dies, especially a person who's on a big platform like that, then it sends shockwaves around the world. But when it happens in such a way that everybody could see it in a video, it's even more shaking and more moving. And I'm not sure, I would assume most of you know who I'm talking about, but there was a political figure who was assassinated during the day on camera for everyone to see in a very gruesome way. And it struck me, and it struck a lot of people. It struck a lot of people. You see people from all over the world extremely moved by it. And he was somewhat of a divisive figure. He said things that were kind of inflammatory, perhaps somewhat purposely to trigger reactions and kind of spread his MO. But he was also a devotee in his own right, and was trying to spread God consciousness from the Christian perspective. So that should be acknowledged as well. And when it happened, and it was so striking and surprising. And it took some time to process for me, but ultimately I came to the conclusion that this world is like a dirty bathroom, and we're not meant to hang out here, right? And this is a quote from Prabhupada, where he says that we're just meant to do our business here in the bathroom of the material universe and get on down the road to greener pastures. And so often it's easy to forget that fact, right? Especially nowadays, essentially everybody lives like kings. Or we have Amazon Prime, where anything that we could ever want is is somewhat cheap for the most part, and can be delivered to us either the same day or the next day. We have air conditioning, so we don't have to feel the pangs of the extreme heat. We have heating, so we don't have to feel the pangs of the extreme cold. Um, Anything we want to eat, we can go to Whole Foods or the grocery store and get it immediately. There's so many pleasures that are readily available. We have such a protection from all of the suffering that our previous generations had to endure. And so it's very easy to kind of settle into that and to forget the fact that this is actually a a, uh, a dangerous and dirty place that at any time the switch could be flipped on us and nightmare could fall upon us as what happened to this gentleman. And so it was very sobering for me in that sense, and also somewhat inspiring, because when you juxtapose that reality, the reality of the material world in which um, everything is ultimately doomed, right? The very nature, the core nature of the material world is that of entropy, where everything is gradually falling apart and disintegrating. And the nature of the material world is darkness. And if it weren't for the sun, then we would be engulfed in darkness with no heat and no hope of life, basically. So the very essential nature of the material universe is uh, is uh, is horrible when you really think about it. And there are some little crutches that are that are preventing that from essentially falling on our heads. But when you juxtapose that reality or supposed reality with the beautiful and enamoring, incredible, awe-inspiring reality of the spiritual world and of our relationships with Krishna and with the devotees, then it becomes clear, where our true value should be placed. And so that was a very dark occurrence, obviously, last week. But the whole material world is a dark occurrence. And here in this particular verse, we're seeing the alternative, which is the supremely sweet and supremely nourishing, protective embrace of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya, and of their devotees. So I brought up a couple of verses that I think illustrate this fact. Just some of my favorites from my readings that maybe you guys would also be inspired by. Let's see. It's the verse. So maybe my all-time favorite instance in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is when Lord Chaitanya is having his ecstatic expressions in the Antya Lila, and his devotees are just trying to figure out what to do with him as he's manifesting these different bodily symptoms and is running away in the night. They're trying to lock him up. They can't. Like I was laying down in front of the door. The door was locked. There was no way. He's gone in the middle of the night. They find him in the ocean in some fisher's net, or they find him in some pasture by the temple because he's just so enamored, overwhelmed with love of God. And mind you, this is available for us, right? Lord Chaitanya is not, he's Krishna, of course, but he's also not Krishna. Krishna came to show who Krishna is, who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. Lord Chaitanya came for a few key reasons, but one of the main ones is to show us what's potentially available for us to some degree. So here, Lord Chaitanya is experiencing this incredible flood of ecstatic emotion in his loving relationship with Krishna. Who could imagine? Completely overwhelming. And he winds up in a pasture. Right, the devotees are looking for him; they can't find him, and he's there in the pasture by the not by the Gambhira, by the Jagannath temple there, and they find him in a odd state in which he's having this bodily transformation, this ecstatic bodily transformation, in which his limbs are retracted basically to his body, and it's described he looked like a golden pumpkin. How do you come up with it? You can't come up with this stuff. This is too incredible and so wild, so ecstatic. So there he is in the pasture, golden pumpkin, and the devotees are concerned for him, obviously. Um, And the cows, on the other hand, we see Kabi Sabat Chaudike Shunke Prabhupada Sri Anga Duda Kaile Nahi Chade Prabhupada Sri Anga Sangha. Sri Anga Sangha, association with the transcendental body. That's cool. So it's described all the cows around the Lord, who's in this pumpkin-like state, were sniffing his transcendental body. When the devotees tried to check them, they refused to give up their association with the transcendental body of Lord Chaitanya. So sweet, right? All these cows which are a very sweet animal. They're very motherly. Obviously, they're all girls. They have this kind of sweetness to them if you've ever been around them, and especially if they've been treated really nice. That's actually what made me stop eating meat. I was doing some work on a devotee farm, and I started hanging around the cows. That was my service, was to feed the cows and kind of clean up and stuff. And after a couple weeks of that, maybe 3 weeks, I realized I could never eat these guys again, or girls, because because they had affection for me. They would come and lay down and put their head on my lap, and they would not, kind of nuzzle up to me and want me to pet them and be, hold them, kind of hug them. They wanted me to be around. I could see the sweetness and the fact that they were just like me, just in a different body. They wanted that same love and affection that me and everybody else craves. And so these sweet cows are there and they are licking the body of Lord Chaitanya, sniffing the body of Lord Chaitanya, and they have this attachment to him. So much so that when the devotees are trying to check them, what a great description. They're refusing to give up their association with the transcendental body of Lord Chaitanya. So sweet. So I don't know about you, but that kind of sweetness, we see glimpses of it here in the material world, but this kind of condensed, ecstatic sweetness, it's you're not going to find it on a podium anywhere, or it's not widely available for sure. It was really sweet. And then who could ever forget once hearing about the meeting between Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda when they first got together? I'll just read a little bit from it. I'll try to go quick. So Lord Nityananda also recognized his Lord. So this is when they first meet in these manifested pastimes. Lord Nityananda became stunned and looked upon Lord Vishwambar with undeviated focused attention in such a way that it seemed as if he was licking with his tongue, drinking through his eyes, embracing with his arms, and smelling through his nose. Thus Nityananda became silent and motionless. Everyone was surprised to see this, but Lord Gora Roy could understand everything. In order to reveal Lord Nityananda's Swarup to everyone, Lord Gaurachandra devised a plan. He made an indication to Srivas Pandit to recite a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Understanding the desire of the Lord, Srivas Pandit recited the following verse. SB 1021.5. Wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue karnikar flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Brindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. What a verse. As soon as Lord Nityananda heard this verse, he immediately fell down and lost his external consciousness. When Lord Nityananda fainted in ecstasy, Lord Gauranga instructed Srivas to recite more and more. By hearing again, Lord Nityananda regained his external consciousness and started to cry. Hearing the verse repeatedly increased his ecstasy, and he started roaring like a lion. He was jumping high in the air and falling to the ground. Everyone was thinking his bones would break. Even the Vaishnavas were afraid. They prayed to Krishna, please save him. Lord Nityananda rolling on the ground, drenched in tears. He looked on the face of Vishwambar and breathing heavily, experiencing ecstasy within his heart and laughing loudly. sometimes dancing, bending down, sometimes he was beating his arms, and sometimes jumping, which was a very amazing sight. As soon as Nityananda reached no one was able to catch hold of Lord Nityananda, and after their failed attempts, Lord Vishwambar himself took Lord Nityananda onto his lap. As soon as Lord Nityananda reached the lap of Vishwambar, he became quiet and surrendered his life to him. Lord Nityananda was floating in the love of Sri Chaitanya. So nice. How could you want anything else other than this? Even the most intimate brotherly, friendly relationships, if they don't have this quality of devotion to Krishna, what is their value? And this last one really struck me too, because uh, I don't know if I have the quote for it here. No, I don't think I do. But I was also recalling Lord Chaitanya's talks with Ramananda Roy, who needed some convincing. They disagreed to begin with about Krishna, the position of Krishna, and actually the nature of the supreme form of divinity itself. They were on opposite positions, and reminded me of this person. And he at the time was on a tour that was called "Prove Me Wrong," and his whole MO was to debate students and show them how their point of view on things was wrong. And now, in essence, that premise isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? If somebody is misinformed, not saying that they were or he was or whatever, but if somebody is misinformed, then it is a person who is informed's duty to help them and to show them an alternate perspective on something. But the way in which he was doing it and the way in which most people do it is it comes from a place of wanting to prove the other person wrong and not necessarily in a mood of loving service to help them in a humble, sweet, gentle, empathetic way. And that's often what prevents people, I think, in general, from seeing an alternative perspective because the person presenting that perspective is approaching them as if they're an enemy, right? As if they are stupid or brainwashed or um, you know, unable to grasp something. But in Lord Chaitanya's exchange with Ramananda Roy, in which they were again on complete opposite sides of the spectrum, Lord Chaitanya glorified Ramananda Roy first and said, "You're so intelligent, this and that," and then very lovingly and with a mood of service to his devotee, ultimately, um, explained to him an alternative perspective. And so this is very instructive, obviously, for the whole world, in that whenever we're confronted with an opposing argument or confronted with somebody who um, is presenting an argument that is not productive to their ultimate growth, then we can ask ourselves if we choose to respond to that to them, if we're about to try to make a point or if we're going to try to actually make a difference in them. And uh, we can check our ego at that point and approach the situation with love and with a mood of service to God, to Krishna. Um, so those were some thoughts. Again, the main thing I took away from this verse in relation to kind of what's going on in the world right now is that the material world is not a place for a gentleman. It is a nightmare on wheels that's heading towards um, only one thing, which is death. And if we put our faith in it, if we expect the material world to bend to our desires or bend to our ideal, of what it should be, then we will be disappointed. But if instead we recognize that Krishna is uh, is our well-wishing friend, is the supreme controller and the supreme enjoyer, then we can view the material world always in relation to him, and in that way develop our relationship with him, which is one of sweetness, which is one of love and service and surrender. And in that way, we can make the material world transcendental and move through it with grace, with repose, and be effective in our dealings with the world, not be disappointed. Um, yes, we'll take you, Bima. You have something, Prabhu?
No, I was just reacting to Nightmare on Wheels. I thought that was rather clever. Go on, Prabhu. I want to hear everybody else's. What a wonderful class. And do you you have a doctorate, don't you? Like a doctorate in bhakti, like right? Don't you have some advanced PhD level?
No, no, maybe that's you're thinking of Nitai Chand, but
No, I'm
yeah,
I'm
I dropped
joking
out of
with
high
you,
school
but you
with
sure
bhakti.
you I would unbelievable. You're an autodidact. I would definitely not flinch at seeing a approving your thesis. Exactly what you were speaking about was very well laid out, and I'm convinced. Let's hope I can remember it all day long. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu.
Anupama Prabhu, great class as always. Shastra teaches us to be appreciative and grateful, to count our blessings. And then when we look at life as a nightmare, how can there be room for gratitude? What am I grateful for? For the nightmare? There's a punk rock song that goes, I am just an angel living in a nightmare. Life is just a dream.
Yeah,
Yes, so the question is, how do we reconcile this sober kind of view on the world and gratitude, counting our blessings for what has been given to us by
yeah,
Krishna's grace? Thank you.
yes. But I would say that the material world is a nightmare to the extent that we forget Krishna. But to the extent that we remember Krishna, then it becomes the spiritual world. It no longer becomes the material world because since everything is coming from Krishna, everything is composed of Krishna, nothing but Krishna. And everything that happens to us, even if we're not a devotee, is if we are a devotee, it's directly from Krishna. And if we're not a devotee and we see it happening to other people, then it's coming from Krishna's energies, from Krishna's systems that he's put in place. And everything is ultimately a reflection of the spiritual world in that sense. And so as long as we're Krishna conscious and we're remembering that, we're realizing that, then everything is transcendental and spiritual. And we could see things in that way. Prabhupada said, all glories to the Pacific Ocean, because he was seeing it's Krishna. And there's a part in the Bhagavatam, I think it's the second canto, it's describing, maybe I'm way off, but it's just, I know there it's describing different aspects of the creation and kind of how to think of them in relation to God, to Krishna. And it said that birds are an indication of Krishna's creative expression or his artistic expression, something like that. And so as long as we have that remembrance, as long as we always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, then we're not really living in the nightmare anymore. Because the nightmare is an illusion, it's a dream. But if we can be awake in remembrance of Krishna, then we're safe.
Thank you, Anupam Prabhu. Temple room, Adipurusha Prabhu, Jaini Tai Prabhu. Would you like to contribute to class? Maybe it's just me, but I don't think we can hear you. No.
Hello. Hare Krishna.
Very faint. Very
Hare
faint.
Krishna. Now better?
Better, yeah, better now. Yeah, get.
You know, you're touching wonderful class, and you're touching on a very profound subject matter. Here, Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example. He's stepping into an alien, misdirected civilization, and he's offering a perspective people are not familiar with. But yet he's not antagonistic. Dira Janapriyo. The Goswamis were beloved by everyone, the gentlefolk and the ruffians, because what does it say? They weren't envious of anyone, right? Yudhisthira was thinking everyone is a greater personality, greater devotee than me. The sanity is to really appreciate the fact that Krishna's arranging everything perfectly, and everyone around us is helping us to become Krishna conscious. So we are entrusted with the task of following in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps and explaining to people something they haven't seen before. And if someone is in darkness all the time, when the light comes, it's like, what's that? It seems like something improper or uncomfortable. So like you were saying, in a mood of service with humility, not watering things down, but presenting it in such a way that it's palatable, and people sense, we can always tell whether somebody is trying to get something from us and control us or manipulate us or make us into a feather in their cap, whether they're actually there on our behalf to give to us. So Krishna's love can flow through us. And although this is challenging, somebody's perspective, it can be done in a loving way. And only in that way is it effective. People who trust us. We had a conversation yesterday with one of the helpers, and he was asking a lot of questions. And then I mentioned to him what we heard Srila Prabhupada say. Well, here's a question we can ask ourselves. You're asking me questions, but there's a question we can ask ourselves. Do I want someone in my life worthy of my complete trust and obedience? And if we ask that question of ourselves, and the answer is yes, and I could see this completely stop this person's inquiry in its tracks. I said, you don't have to tell me the answer you get from yourself, but it is said that we can ask that of ourselves. And if somebody wants somebody in their life worthy of our complete trust and obedience, then Scripture says, Scripture says that Krishna sees that desire and he'll send us that quality of association. But if we want somebody who's not worthy of our trust, and we have an excuse not to listen to them, then Krishna will send that. Was a deal breaker in the conversation. So we want to really care for people. And Krishna can show us how to do this without banging somebody over the head with the philosophy. I'm sorry to talk so long. Well, glories to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. That's what I heard from my guru.
Yeah, thank you. It makes a lot of sense. Krishna Kumari?
I just wanted to just go back to the sweetness of this verse or these two verses. Just hearing that the queens were so bewildered. I mean, it's just, we think of the gopis like that, and sometimes you might think Dwarka isn't as sweet as Vrindavan, but here these wives of Krishna, I mean, everything is about their Krishna and their last remembrance or being with their Krishna, and this confusion, like just seeing even this sea is actually the ocean of milk, and then to bring it to a pastime. And it's just, yeah, it's just so beautiful. And I'm actually at the ocean today and tomorrow with some friends, and Min's going to meet me. So that'll be nice. And the ocean was roaring yesterday, and I got to be in the ocean where I feel very, very close to Krishna, actually. And yeah, I'm just trying to really drink in what the Bhagavatam's saying. I'm always just thinking how the ocean's connected to, somehow to the Ganges. But here, it's more that these queens are seeing everything in relationship to their beloved Krishna.
Nice.
Can I just say something quickly?
Mm-hmm.
So in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it might be chapter 10, doesn't he say, I am the ocean? And he says, I am the taste of water, I am the shark, I am this, I'm the cheetah, I'm the ocean. And whenever I think about the ocean, that's what I think. That's why we love the ocean so much. Because you're seeing Vishnu, you're seeing Krishna.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's all Krishna in one sense. And just like somebody in love, everything they smell, they're like, oh, that smells like their perfume or their cologne, and everything they taste. Oh, that reminds me of this time, we went to dinner here or something, and they see their beloved everywhere. And so as we develop our Krishna consciousness, and like these queens, like the gopis, you see that example of what it means, what happens when you're in love with Krishna. You see him everywhere. There's no question of the material world at that point because you're absorbed in Krishna consciousness.
That is such a beautiful thing that you just said, and just as a reminder, I mean, the Shaivites, that they see Shiva everywhere,
Yeah,
the Krishnas, they see Krishna everywhere. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's
yeah.
so wonderful to be united and not see differences. I mean, one time somebody said to me, if the Hare Krishnas knew you drink tea, etc., they would be very upset. And I said, they don't have to accept me, I accept them. So I see the beauty in the Hare Krishna movement and the philosophy. It's just very, really beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, we'll always accept you.
Thank you.
There's a great song, I think it's like an old jazz song. It's called The Very Thought of You, and it goes, I see your face in every flower and your eyes in the stars above. And it's all about how he's in love with this person and seeing them. That's Krishna consciousness. We
So
fall in love with
beautiful.
Krishna. We're always conscious of him. So
So beautiful.
it's so beautiful, right? Yeah, we don't have to go to a mountain and like forget ourselves and forget our families. We just hear about Krishna, who's so amazing that just by hearing about him, we fall in love with him. Just by us being around him through his name, associating with him, that we fall in love with him. And then there's no question of uh, of material enjoyment, attachment. As that love deepens, there's no point. We have no desire for it.
I also just want to add one of my experiences because I lived in an ashram in India, and at the end of our morning chant, we used to sing Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murare He Natha Nara Yana Vasudeva. And without fail, like without any effort, tears would just roll and love would just, it's hard to explain. There was all this grace And at the end of every night, every day at night, we used to sing the Maha Mantra. Same thing. I mean, I never missed it. And it wasn't because I was so great or anything. It was just that it was so beautiful and so magical.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great, man. How could you want anything else? It's so awesome. It's so
Yes,
ecstatic and spectacular. It's so
yes,
absorbing. It's described there. You get swept up in the flood of love
yes,
for Krishna. How could you want anything else? Totally ridiculous. It's like giving up stool in the toilet.
yes.
It's of no value whatsoever. Devaki Priti?
Thank you so much for your class. Such a wonderful class. And I think my take home is somewhere in the class you said something about if people are saying things to us and we want to say something, we can think, am I trying to make a point or am I trying to make a difference? And
Hmm.
that really stuck out to me because making a point that usually comes from the false ego and wanting to be right, and
Hmm.
making a difference comes from that desire of wanting to help. And it definitely takes more to think, is what I'm saying going to help the person, than just like noticing something that they're doing that you don't like. So I really like that. And
Yeah.
just thinking of in those two ways is an easy way to, like, when I'm about to speak, like for a series of speech, am I making a point or am I trying to actually help the person?
Yeah,
So thank you
man,
so
for
much.
sure. Could you imagine if, I mean, on a material level, could you imagine if just one of these super smart, more conservative guys, like a Charlie Kirk or like a Ben Shapiro or something, if instead of trying to like, prove everybody wrong and like, you're stupid and like you're wrong about this, if instead they approached it with a mood of love and service and trying to help people, because a lot of times our ideas are very much in line with our own as devotees, in terms of more God-centered life, and kind of making that be the focus of your decisions. But oftentimes it's presented in such a combative, almost angry way, and like, I want to prove you wrong, and I want to. Could you imagine if they really came from a place of love and service and wanting to help and wanting to unify? I mean, it would be incredible. It would be incredible. Hopefully, Krishna sends someone like that. That'd be nice. You're muted, Ananda Bihari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I was glorifying you, Anupam Prabhu. I was glorifying your class. Thank you.
We should remember that Prabhupada was precisely what Anupam just spoke of. He spoke very hard truths. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. Talk about morality and strictness. But there was always this love everywhere, from the food to the paintings to his classes to the kirtan. It's just we are so blessed to be
Yes.
part of a bhakti path rather than gyan, or because there's all sorts of paths and you eventually come around and get a clue. But the path of love, just sprinkle that, just spice that precept with a little bit of like wanting to connect to the person, friendship, agape, spiritual love, and it just makes all the difference in the world. You can be very simple-headed. Up here's the deities and the deities. Hare Krishna.
Lotus feet of our spiritual life are the only way by which we can obtain I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of materialist identity and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the works and the names of his wisdom. Attachment to all that is sweet and that the little and all the back. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, blessed after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates, and by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Prabhupada ki.
Thank you, Janitai Prabhu. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Anupam Prabhu, do you have a few minutes for the afterglow?
Yes.
I think Saurabh Prabhu had his hand raised. Saurabh Prabhu.
Haribol, Hare Krishna, lots of love, devotion, and respects to all of you. I was just gonna express my gratitude, just phenomenal. Everything you said was so amazing and so real and so organic and So thank you. That was the main purpose of me wanting to say something, nothing else. But I'll also say that I often find myself, saying, I'm not made for this world. I'm not made for this world, and that dirty bathroom of material world that's just correlates so nicely. But then, circling back and doing good with the opportunities we have. Um, for example, like technology and social media, I left maybe 10 plus years ago. I'm like, hey, something's wrong here. So it's not for me. But then again, you circle back, our association is through technology. So it's how we utilize the technology and going back to, right? Um, Keeping our concentration on Krishna, on seva, on service, on association, and things could help. Also, you mentioned your experience with the cows. It reminded me, I was in India. I was born there until I was 8, and so second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, every time throughout the day I would see a cow, we would touch and take blessings and literally pray to the cows every single. So if we see 15, I would touch. And I remember these memories as a kid going in the rickshaw. There's an exam, you see a cow, you want to take the blessing. So we would touch and take the blessing. So that brought back a lot of memories. The example you shared of your experience. I don't know. That's what I wanted to share, and ultimately just wanted to thank you for your amazing class. Thank you. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu. Appreciate it. Yeah, those memories go deep, I think. There's something about cows. They are a special animal for sure. And I mean, is there a more special animal or Krishna's favorites? There's something special about them for sure. They transformed me literally. They made me into a devotee, basically, them and the devotees at that time.
Horses are special too. He rode one and he was a chariot.
I knew that was coming. Yeah. Prabhupada said horse is the most beautiful animal, from what I understand.
Yeah, I was in Vrindavan, and was feeling like I don't belong here. I didn't know what Vrindavan was. I mean, still don't know anything, but I was feeling a little bit awkward, and we were walking down the street, and there was a goshala, a place for cows, and I kind of put my head over the fence, and one cow came up to me and started licking me, and I had a buzz cut, and the cow started licking me affectionately, and I immediately felt like I was at home. I said, "Thank you so much for welcoming me somehow or other, and making me feel like I'm welcome here." Just a quick cow story.
Nice. Yeah, there's some motherly, right? She
Yeah.
was welcoming you home for sure. She has their motherly. How could you kill them? It's such a shame that it's so in mass nowadays, but we
We
are
used
the
to
resistance.
we used to ride them as kids. So I lived surrounded by dairy farm, or there was a dairy farm next to our neighborhood when we were little kids in Maine. It was old-fashioned dairy farm, and all the pastures had the cows, and there were bulls, active bulls, also scattered throughout. And we used to ride the cows, and they would put up with us. They'd the one trick they would do would be to meander into a swamp, so that so that and it happened several times. They would just stand there in the swamp, and we have to slide down off the back because we were little, and you'd be up to your waist sometimes in pasture mud, and and then also we used to tease and bait the bulls. We'd challenge each other who will run across the furthest point to point across the pasture in the bullpen. Uh, and had a couple of close calls there. Actually lost a dog who was following along once to a bull. But yeah, they're wonderful creatures, and as with all of them.
Thank you. Let's take one more contribution. Who wants to contribute to devotees, please? It's your turn.
Hi, I had a question here for Anupam. I don't know if he's still here. Um, I never actually heard this Kirk speak. I heard who he is, but some people I know say that his message is one of hate, and I'm just wondering. Wanted to ask Anupam, what's his reason for failing? Why do some people say that? I'm just curious. I haven't heard him, so I can't have an opinion one way or the other. I might want to listen now just out of curiosity, but I was just wanting to know if he could say why some people claim that he has a message of hate.
Yeah. So he was definitely I don't want to get too into the politics in Bhagavatam class, but he was definitely purposely inflammatory for sure. He said things in such a way to agitate and confront and be combative. And so certain things he might have been saying, they might have been factual, but the way in which he presented those facts was in poor taste, in my opinion, in the sense that again, it wasn't in a mood of trying to help and trying to unify and trying to address certain issues in a way that everybody could be benefited, but more in a way to kind of say, I'm right and you're wrong, like that. Now, he was a devout Christian. He was from all accounts, um, he was always quoting Bible verses and bringing that up in his talks with college students and whatnot, and encouraging others to give their lives to God and to not be promiscuous and to not drink and do sinful activities. But again, because he didn't have that element of uh, of loving service to God and didn't or at least didn't exercise it, then people viewed him as someone who was hateful. Um, so the key is to be a devotee of Krishna, because then I think you get that message a lot more clear.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the idea that we are servants of everybody, not just God, right? That's more like Kanishta Adhikari. The idea that I just serve God and everybody else, I could tell them that they're stupid and they're wrong, and I could use inflammatory tactics. But if you're a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, there's really no room for that if you're sincere. You're the humble servant, more tolerant than a tree, more humble than the blade of grass. Prabhupada, one time, someone asked him on a stage, Prabhupada was giving a class about Varnashram. He was talking about the divisions between Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. And it was kind of, people got a little, it could have been a little inflammatory, right? Prabhupada also, from time to time, used some inflammatory language, right? Things he said in different instances. But he had this, like Bhima Prabhu was saying, and I was also thinking of this in relation to current events. He had this mood of love and loving service, and so it transcended that, and it disarmed people. So he was giving this talk, Varnashram Dharma, Brahmana Kshatriya, and one of the agitated students, which is ironically, kind of what Charlie Kirk was dealing with, said, "Oh yeah, I bet you think so. I bet what Varna are you? I bet you must be a Brahmana, right?" In Prabhupada, it's described that somebody was on stage left to Prabhupada, and they watched a tear roll down Prabhupada's eye. And Prabhupada said, "Actually, I'm lower than all of the other Varnas because I'm the servant. I'm the servant of everybody." And obviously, it completely so that's the difference. And so it's a lesson to us all for sure. We can present confrontational data. We can approach people in a confrontational way, but again, we need to think of our attitude, and we need to do so in a way that is in a genuine mood of loving service, and then we'll be exonerated. Then we'll be transcendental, and people will be disarmed by us, right? It's not that Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami never said anything that made people uncomfortable. It's that they weren't envious of other people, and that they genuinely wanted what was best for them, to the extent they were willing to sacrifice themselves for the other person. That's a devotee. That's a real devotee. And that's why they were beloved amongst the gentle and the ruffians, as Adipurush Prabhu said. So
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah. Yes, Nachamitai.
Something else
You
for
know,
you.
for example, the thing is still open. Do you want to close it? I thought she would said one more, so I was the one more.
So yeah, no, I just wanted to say, Prabhuji, thank you for class, and
Hare Krishna, I got a phone call. It missed
I
a
lost
little
it.
bit.
I again pushed one of the
What's
buttons.
happening?
right, go ahead. Okay, Hare Krishna. So yeah, I just wanted to say, thank you for class, and I've been recently when I've been chanting, I've
Get
been
the volume up.
actually asking in my mind just how can I be of service, and that's it's making a big difference in my attitude, personally. And then I'm just realizing that Srila Prabhupada used to, refers to Krishna as the supreme mystic, and just be like being wanting to be of service, and one example is like expressing love to my parents, and all those memories of like childhood where like they were doing all so many pujas and everything, they're all coming back, like flooding back to me. It's like it's really mystical and it's really amazing, and I guess, yeah, like that's the missing part in my devotional life, is just to be of more service to the devotees. And I remember Srila Prabhupada, somebody had told me about Srila Prabhupada that there's one congregational member that was coming for a long time, and he said he just finally gave up eating meat. He said, how can I um, make more progress? It seems like a long trip. Actually, Shri said, "Oh, keep continue coming. Right now you're giving up eating meat. Soon, you'll become more advanced devotee." I forget exactly how he said it, but no, thank you for that, because Srila Prabhupada really wanted us to all stick to Krishna consciousness, and continue on going. It's very motivational to continue persevering despite any ups and downs we may get. So that's all I got. Done. That's,
Nice.
Thank you. Ram woke up. He's asking how can he be a servant at such a young age, Ram? You want to be a servant? Yeah. See the devotees? They're so happy. Yeah. No nightmare for them. Look. Jai, thank you very much. Dear devotees, we love you. We need you. Anupam, great class. Thank you so much. Angel Prabhu, don't fall into that trap of taking sides materially. Don't take sides. Be a devotee, like Anupam Prabhu said. Okay, Hare Krishna, we love
There
you.
was there was a question in the chat. I'm not sure if there's time to get to it, but I did see someone typed a question. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know if there's time.
Shobha, how can one refrain from depression and anxiety?
Some cases it's a chemical thing that needs to be addressed with medication, and the peace formula is given in 529 of Bhagavad Gita, by which I could give you two peace formulas, one Gita, one CC. In 529 it says, one who understands Krishna as the supreme controller of everything, meaning he's in control of everything. Anything that happens to you is Krishna. As a supreme friend, which is great because not only is he in control of everything, but he's actually your friend. And so he wants what's best for you, and he's going to make that happen. And the supreme enjoyer, meaning instead of us being the supreme enjoyer and we should do everything for our own pleasure, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And so that we should give everything to Krishna and try to please him with everything we do, then that's the peace formula. You don't feel anxiety if you live in that realization. And then the CC gives a great verse where it says, Shunile kandhibe chittara dosh Krishna gada premehabi paibe santosh, which means um, that by regularly hearing about Krishna, then one develops ecstatic love for him. This is the path of peace. So we can keep the transcendental vibration going. As my spiritual master says, there's a beautiful thing called SoundCloud, in which you could literally keep kirtan or talks by whoever you want going in your ears all day. And if you can do that, then you'll be on the transcendental plane. One time, I was really in the dumps about something. It was a while ago. I forget what it was, but I was really down about something, or maybe just feeling really uninspired. And so I decided to do the Prabhupada challenge. There were a lot of challenges at that time. And so the challenge for myself was I would just listen to Prabhupada nonstop for 3 days straight. As soon as I woke up, I think it was even going throughout the night. I would fall asleep with Prabhupada on, wake up, Prabhupada would be on, and I would have earphones on throughout the day, and I would just be constantly hearing Prabhupada. And after the first 24 hours of that, I was it was all good.
Cleanse.
Yeah, I felt completely cleansed and uplifted. It was all good. So that said, as soon as we stop hearing, then we imagine injustices, and that's very anxiety-inducing. But if we could just be absorbed in the ocean of ecstasy, courtesy of Prabhupada, then there's no question of anxiety. We're living it. So anxiety comes from forgetfulness of Krishna. So we could, in a very gross way, just make sure that doesn't happen by hearing consistently. And it may not, you may not feel completely transformed as soon as you press play on a lecture, but if you keep it going, then you will be brainwashed for the better.
Thank you, Anupam Prabhu. Okay, Hemangi, please unmute yourself and recite the Maha Mantra. Hemangi.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for inspiring us always. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
I feel brainwashed. Hemangi, great recitation, great class, Anupam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. What's the link for the lecture? We'll put it in the WhatsApp group, Shobha. If you go to Bhakti Center Temple at the Bhakti Center on YouTube, Temple at the Bhakti Center on YouTube, and click live, and you'll see all live classes there. You'll see Hemangi's recitation there. You'll see everything. It's all being recorded. This is the Bhagavatam that we're living in. No nightmare. We live in the Bhagavatam. Okay, Hare Krishna.